Hey guys, in this episode, we're going to talk about the film Red Sparrow. We're going to see if Jennifer Lawrence brought her A game and if the film met our expectations. This is episode 20 of the Reel-ists podcast. Hey guys, welcome back. It's Donnie
and Oscar
and our producer Ruben.
Hello.
He's closer to the mic this time.
He is.
We've heard the criticism.
We know you guys want more Ruben, so that's what we're giving you this episode. A couple of things just to do some housekeeping. First of all,
Wait, gotta do the housekeeping.
oh,
We're gonna do oh my god, don't spoil it. We got
trying to find something to knock on.
Can't you just say knock?
Housekeep. That sound like a knock? Can you hear that? Housekeeping.
How does that sound?
You can hear it.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. So yes, knock, knock, knock. Housekeeping.
That was the first order of housekeeping.
That was the first one. First of all, I just want to thank our listeners once again for tuning in and listening to us every week. We really appreciate all your support.
Always.
Always. It's always appreciated. And please continue to share us with everyone you know. Remember, you can find us on, well, they can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at Team Reel-ists, Team REELISTS, no dash. Just keep spreading the word. Team Reel-ists, you guys are amazing.
Like us, subscribe, do all those like common things you do when you follow someone.
Yeah.
Like, follow, and subscribe. I think that's what they say on YouTube. We're not YouTube, but we're on YouTube.
We are on YouTube, but we'll get into that.
But we're not YouTube.
What was the actual? Well, now I'm getting lost. What was the actual housekeeping thing we were going to talk about?
This was only one episode on Thursday.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So if you're wondering, because you're probably tuning in hopefully on Thursday when this gets posted, if you're wondering where the other episode is, we actually did something a little different this week. So as you guys, most of you guys should know, the Academy Awards was this Sunday. So we actually did an episode reviewing the Academy Awards that we posted on Monday.
Yeah,
so
switched
if
it
you
up.
guys want to
Spiced it up.
Yeah, we did for sure. Switched it up. So that's first time we've ever done anything like that. So that's pretty exciting. So if you want to check that episode out, you can definitely check it out on any of our platforms that we're on.
Wherever podcasts are available, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah,
and let us know if you guys like that. We'd be more than happy to kind of split the episodes. If you guys get more opportunity to listen to us throughout the week. More excitement to hear us.
Yeah.
We start off your week and we start ending your week. We're not on Fridays, but we're close.
We're close. We're like a day early, but it's fine. It's all right.
Our excitement is probably enough to push you into Friday. There you go.
And get you through the weekend.
And get you to wait for Monday for the next episode.
Yeah, please let us know what your thoughts are if you guys like that we do that. We'll continue to try to switch things up. And want to once again thank you guys for tuning in. This episode, we're going to discuss I don't even know how to describe. I was trying to think of words to describe the film.
Graphic,
provocative, unapologetic, bold.
All right.
Film called Red Sparrow.
Just making New York Times here.
Pretty much.
Headlines.
Pretty much. Oscar, so you, Ruben, and I went and saw this film.
And Daniel.
And Daniel. Shout out to Danny.
If he's listening.
We don't have his Instagram info, do we?
Nope.
Go follow him at...
I don't even know if he's following us. What if he isn't? We need to find out.
Danny, if you're listening, you better be following us, bro. Anyways, Oscar, what were your initial thoughts of the film?
Well, it is definitely a movie that immediately was compared to Atomic Blonde for me, just based off of the whole spy and kind of trying to pull out of a situation that you don't want to be in. The movie itself, it was one that I was intrigued on the idea, but I did get lost watching it. Or at least not lost necessarily, is that I didn't understand what's going on. I just felt like they were trying to make too many different things happen to the point where I was like, we can simplify this maybe. So watching it, it had those bumps that I really kind of was trying to make sure I was following. I felt like it was going left, right, up, down, north, south, east, west, like all those different directions. And then at the very end, it tries to make me like, oh, it was always coming this way, but I felt like it wasn't. So yeah, I mean, initially, yeah, it started off intense. Like that first scene, definitely was, one of those where it's like, okay, we're going there. And once like she became part of the Russian spy team, actually, well, the Red Sparrows, I guess.
Oh my God, don't spoil it.
There you go.
Spoiler alert.
Well, I mean, that's in the plot. That's in the premise.
Well, before you say anything further.
Right. But yeah, so once she started doing that, I felt like that's where it got a little bit on the, I don't want to say just the lack of interest, like for me, was dwindling. It started to slowly become one of those. It was like, okay, how are we wrapping this up and when are we wrapping this up? So those are just my initial thoughts.
So, little synopsis for the film. Prima ballerina Dominika Egorova faces a bleak and uncertain future after she suffers an injury that ends her career. She soon turns to Sparrow School, a secret intelligence service that trains exceptional young people to use their minds and bodies as weapons. Egorova emerges as the most dangerous Sparrow after completing the sadistic training process. As she comes to terms with her new abilities, Dominika meets a CIA agent who tries to convince her that he is the only person she can trust. So, my initial thoughts, I'm kind of right there with you. Watching the film in the theaters, it did kind of start off one way and then it kept making all these turns. And I was like, okay, it was a little difficult to try to follow everything. However, okay, let me start with this. First of all, I thought there was going to be more action in it.
I could see that
because
yeah,
it was like a spy espionage type of film, so I just assumed that there was going to be some more like, kind of more like Atomic Blonde, more like hand-to-hand combat scenes, which there really wasn't.
John Wick, I think it was a spy he's a former spy, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Yes.
So that was one of my expectations where I felt it fell a little flat for me. Secondly, I did think that I felt like they were going to show Jennifer Lawrence's character going after like different people, like kind of showing us
like mission after mission kind of hunt.
Kind of, yeah, like how like she's kind of, all these guys are basically getting like duped by her. Like, she's like trying to, using her body and her sexuality.
The trailers did indicate that,
like it was, that's kind of what I was expecting. And she really only did it, a couple times. Really, like what, twice?
The first one wasn't her. It was definitely more of just like.
It seemed like there was going to be kind of like a plethora of like men that she's.
Yes, like this. Yeah, like the trailers start off, and I remember this clearly. The trailers start off with her. It looks like she's already, getting the first guy. She's, doing her mission on the first guy.
Yeah, like she had just completed a mission.
Right.
That's how I thought it was going to open. I thought it was going to open with her finishing off one of her, one of the last marks she just, kind of like killed or whatever, did something, turned him in to the police or something.
But that's not the case. Instead, this was more of a innocent girl put into this world just because she had family member that was connected to the organization. So
my last initial thought that I just wanted to touch was just Jennifer Lawrence's performance in general. I thought she did really good. I thought like her, first of all, like if we're just talking about technical abilities, like she had to talk with a Russian accent. I felt it was believable.
True. Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there was this one movie I saw and I just felt like the accent, I remembered like going like, oh, the accent's so not believable. Or I can't shake their face from this person they're trying to play. But with this film, I really could believe that she was a Russian.
Yeah.
So I thought she did really good with that.
She did a solid job overall. She didn't do anything necessarily that makes it stand out and that I would want to go see it again because of her performance. She definitely just played her role. And I think that's a great start. But I think for an actress that's trying to really get on the next level, you definitely have to somehow bring it to where you want to see it again because it was a great performance. And I'm sure like, those countless movies we can list off where, we think of the performance as one of the reasons why we want to see it again. So she definitely like did her job. She definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I think I
She
think
was right on
did
track,
good.
if anything.
She sizzled. She sizzled in this searing drama. Sorry, I'm just trying to go with like headlines here.
Headline day, apparently.
Right.
National headline.
One of the things, and not to, I mean, obviously we're discussing what, we liked and didn't like, or what we felt our expectations didn't meet for this film. But I felt like this film was a little different than other like typical spy espionage films because one of the things that I did like was that normally when there's a spy or agent and they're kind of like playing both sides and they're trying to keep up this this persona, this alias for both sides so they're not found out, but like right away her cover was blown with the American CIA person. So right away, so instead of like him finding out at the end of the film, like, oh, you're really so-and-so, which would have been kind of cliche. I like that it was pretty like from the get-go, like, okay, you're really this person. I know who you are a ballerina, blah, 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 blah. I felt like that added an interesting point to the plot.
For sure. The way that Nate did discover her, I guess, her identity or whatever in that sense, that did bring a sense of like, okay, so now we can at least get to see the relationship knowing this and what they're actually going to do instead of him thinking it was her the entire movie to find out that it's not, that's not who she really was or whatever. Mm. That was different. So I do agree on that. It's a nice change. I can imagine like if it would have stuck with him not knowing the entire movie, your thoughts would be on more of like, okay, how is he going to find out? Okay, is he going to think differently about her? Is he going to not want to trust her anymore? So, I mean, it definitely didn't go that route. But at the same time, it took many routes.
Yeah, it did. But I mean, we're saying like, oh, it went left, it went right. It took many routes. And it did, but not all of them are bad. Like, some of them are good. Right. One of the things that I had liked, too, about this film that I think sets it apart, and this was it's kind of like a catch-22 because like when we were in the theaters and we were watching some of these scenes were just so graphic. Mm-hmm. They really were, and we were like, oh my god, and I found myself like covering my mouth and like jaw dropping.
Oh, there was a lot of that.
And it was pretty, it was pretty throughout the film. Mm-hmm. But I think that you're dealing with like a spy, you're dealing with like someone who's like in this film they were trained to use their bodies as tools to try to get information. So I mean, just with that subject matter, I liked the fact that they were so bold with it and they were just like putting it out there. I mean, there was obviously a lot of nudity, which I just think back to like those James Bond films or other films where it's like they kind of filter that stuff down a little bit, or even like when someone's being murdered, they're not so graphic about it, but it's like you're dealing with like sexuality and sex and murder and like double crossing people. So it's like I think mainstream tries to like tone it down a bit, but like if you look at just the subject of of those topics, like those are graphic things. Those are very like blunt, like, oh my god, like jaw dropping things. So I like that they didn't like try to put a veil over it. Like they were just like unapologetically like, this is what it is. We're putting it out there. Like not that we don't care the reaction it elicits, but like we're putting it in its raw form right in front of you. Like
just
this
like
is
her other movie she had, Mother. That definitely took that same route.
And I think I think when a film can do that and they're not trying to, I mean, I think when they're making these films, they know certain things are going to like spark controversy or turn people off or make audience members feel like, a certain way, even if it's not in a, like a good way, like, feel offended or like, oh my God, I can't believe they showed that. But
it just varies on the purpose of the scene or the purpose of why that's included. A lot of mainstream movies exclude those kinds of things because that's not the focus of it. The general idea is you get what's going to happen. You can put that together. So, I mean, yes, it definitely adds something different to it, but I don't know if, like, I get the first time she did it, the first time she had to get, I don't know, what was she trying to do? Get intel or trying to?
The very first time when her uncle told her to go into the hotel room. Yeah, she was just basically listening to what her uncle was saying, like to swap phones.
Okay,
so
yeah,
the
right.
purpose
That's
was
what it
to
was.
swap the
That's
phones
what it was.
with
yes.
him to get more information.
Like that time, yes, that part felt right to show her that this is going to be very, very different than what she probably thought of. She probably thought it might be as like a simple switcheroo, but this guy was not one to really take it lightly. And then there was some throughout the other scenes. Like I think it's just a matter of what you're trying to say that needs to explain that kind of gruesomeness.
Yeah.
And I think the first scene was one that is a perfect example because she was just fresh. She was like thrown in there, and this wasn't where she had time to prep and time to really understand what this guy's really interested in or anything like that. She was thrown in there, and she was kind of like improving to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
So I can definitely see like that's definitely a great example of yes, it's showing there because we're going with her vulnerability in having to do that. There are other parts throughout it that I felt like I don't know if it really needed to be. I felt like it was just at that point just because it wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if all the scenes were requiring for that. But I mean, I get what you're saying that yes, it did do that more so than you would expect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure. I mean, we could, I'm sure people have opinions. Like, for instance, the scene where she was completely nude in front of all her peers and she was basically going to let the guy that attempted to rape her, the teacher was saying, basically give him what he wants. So, like, that was a scene when watching it, I was like, oh my God, like, this is a lot. Was it necessary? Like, did it add anything to the scene?
Yeah, I mean, it could have been played differently too. I'm sure that there's different ways you can still evoke that kind of like she is being told not to fight back. So yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. There's that one's the one that's kind of like could it have been done differently? Yes.
I mean, thinking about it now, even just like over the last couple of days, like I'm just trying to think, because I process movies for days at a time and like to think about it for, while I'm going to sleep and when I wake up. And I was just thinking like, I mean, at first I was like, they didn't really need to show all that. But now I'm just thinking like, I mean, the purpose of that school, I think like what the movie revealed, a big part of that training program was to use their bodies to basically get the job done and do whatever it takes to get information. So I feel like they were really like, that was like their mission statement. Like your body basically doesn't belong to you. Like you need to use it accordingly to serve our government.
Yeah.
So I feel like it just like put it in even more like a more blatantly like, I don't know, just like it made it even more like plain to see. Like they're really trying to drive that point through all of those students. Ruben has something to say.
Sorry, I keep coughing. Yeah, that scene. Now that you say it, I don't think it needed to be in there because it did prove that point that their bodies are theirs. I mean, are not theirs, but it doesn't. She doesn't do anything with it. So you like.
It doesn't pay off.
It doesn't pay off because she asked, what was it? She was like, give him what he wants. And then she ends up saying, like, he didn't want to have sex with me. He just wanted power. Mm-hmm. That's why he wanted to rape her. Mm-hmm. So then you're like, wow, she's so insightful. And she could read guys. But she never has to do it again. After that scene, she gets kicked out, right, of the school?
She doesn't get kicked out. I feel like, she kind of...
her away again.
They send her to go on to the next mission, basically.
But she never does anything with like there was no payoff, so I'm great that they showed it, but if you at that point in time you would assume like, oh, this shows you how her mind works.
Or how she got her mind to be set on how it should work.
Yeah. And she nothing ever happens with that. She never has to use it ever again. Like
that's true.
She kind of has to use it with her uncle in some way, though.
Yeah,
like,
the uncle's the only part, and I feel like that's still kind of minor. I mean, the uncle.
She didn't have to go to that extent that she did in the classroom, basically, but
like the whole thing was with her and the American guy,
mm-hmm.
and she never had to do anything with him like that. She never had to figure him out. She had him from the beginning.
Yeah,
so,
I could see what you're saying. Right,
you know
right.
What I mean? And she never had to go to some random people. I mean, I fell asleep.
Well, I don't think she needed.
I fell asleep in the middle. But...
Okay, so the truth comes out.
I didn't miss all that.
Well, the thing with he was a CIA, right?
Yeah,
the American Nate. Was his name?
Nate.
The thing with Nate though is like she never had to do that because Nate was. It's not like she was trying. It's not like where she would have had to do that with like other people who were corrupt or where she needed to get information. But like Nate was a good guy and he was, you know, pretty upfront with her, except for not telling her who the mole was, because that was like, you know, he was trying to protect him. But other than that, he was pretty upfront. So she didn't really need to like go to that extreme to try to get anything.
No, she didn't. But that was my problem, that they put all these things in there, but she never had to do it. Therefore, it was never needed. I didn't have to see it.
Yeah, Ruben's going with every scene pays off in the movie kind of approach, and I could see that. That makes sense.
Yeah, it didn't give me even. It didn't even give it to me indirectly. I didn't even feel like, yeah, she might have.
I mean, yeah, I think the best example to really bring it home would be that the scene when we found out everything she did do to the uncle that exposed him as being the mole.
But he really wasn't. She was
right.
just setting him up to look.
I mean,
like
when
it.
I saw that part, I wasn't like, it was just kind of like, okay.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, how plot convenient that you knew the entire time, you know, that you were going to make this work exactly in this manner.
I mean, but I don't think first of all, because you guys had said that before, but I don't think she knew. And I think she was literally, it was like a chess game the whole way. Like, she would literally make a move and then see what happens and then have to think about making another move. It's not like she was this mastermind from the start of the movie to the end of the movie. She was just like reacting to every situation she was thrown into and trying to make the right move, which eventually it did all pay off and it was convenient, but it's not like she masterminded the whole like thing. She was just basically trying to survive and trying to make the right decision.
Supporting characters. No, I mean, yeah, it's how we perceived the movie, obviously. So you can't really say what the truth is, but maybe that in itself is a downside. That we all have different ways that we carried it.
Or it could be a good thing that it like provoked something different and we all perceived something different. That could be a good thing too.
It made you think, I guess. But now that my point was that when you're like, was it really necessary?
Right.
And no, it wasn't.
So that's what he was chiming in on.
Right. I feel like, I mean, in the moment you feel like it's necessary, right? I mean, in the moment you're like, they're showing me this for a reason.
Right.
Well, her class session overall was short.
Yeah, well, yeah, it kind of was. But it was still enough for you to remember. I mean, it was the most shocking of everything.
Yeah.
But I feel like when you're done with the movie, you're like, well, then why did we go through that? You know, why did we see that if the movie didn't have anything to do with that? You know what I mean?
It's not like she necessarily took all of that and was using that throughout the whole film.
And it didn't do anything else either.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't do like they brainwashed her
or we watched her get like trained in combat and like how to shoot.
And now you see the effects of what happened, like how her, you know, how they something. It wasn't directly or indirectly. That literally was just something that happened, and then you move along.
Yeah.
Nothing is directly related to that ever. Besides maybe the stuff with her uncle. Maybe they were going the route that maybe she was upset because he made her go to horse school, like she called it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only angle I can think of that's like, that provoked anger in her more than she already had. And
right.
But besides that, now that you look back, it was not. You could have gotten the same effect out of the whole movie. Besides not being so shocked, you would have gotten the same result. You would have understood the ending. No problem. Without those.
So you feel like that didn't even need to be in the
intriguing.
film?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, I could see
I can take it or leave it. Like, I don't feel like like Ruben was saying, it wasn't vital to her character or the film. But I mean, I'm not like, oh no, they just need to take that whole part out. That whole thing was just stupid and it made no sense.
It out, but I'm just saying, like, it was
just done better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't need to be there. It wasn't crucial to the story.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I think this kind of goes to one of the cons I have for this film. The supporting characters. You would think
there wasn't much there.
You would think Nate would be one that you would feel like you knew, but I still didn't feel like I really knew him. Like they did provoke he's a good guy feeling and like vibe every time he was on the scene. but there wasn't sure, like I wasn't sure at least that, he was good. I felt like he might have just put her in a bad spot at the end and be like, all right, bye, I got what I need to kind of approach. So that in itself is, I guess, not a good thing that I didn't feel comfortable, or I felt the character was developed. The uncle just played straightforward bad guy. No, like.
Well, I just feel like too. Now that you're saying all this, I mean, not now that you're saying it. I've been thinking it, but yes, the characters, the supporting characters didn't really have much to work with in terms of like getting to the root of who they all were. One reason, I mean, could have been this was like adapted from a novel, and obviously like any film adaptation, a lot gets lost in the translation of, from film to movie. So, I mean, that could have been part of the reason. But yeah, I feel like a lot of the supporting characters were kind of just like one-sided. Like you just got kind of the, like the uncle was a bad guy. So we got the
American
that.
spot.
The American was a good guy. Yeah. The mom was like, you felt sorry for her because she was sick. The mistress of the school was stern and maybe slightly psychotic and sick. Like you just get kind of one side of like every character. I feel like
this movie,
even with Jennifer Lawrence's character, and at first I was like, I didn't feel like I got a true sense of like who she was personally. But at the same time too, I step back and I go, well, she was thrown into like all these circumstances, and she was, like I said before, just trying to survive and make the right move. So it's like there wasn't any breathing room to go deep into her like psyche, I don't feel, to like try to see who she really was.
I'm very curious as to how the book unfolds. It's very possible that this book could actually give the space and the time for us to really understand. I do think that Jennifer Lawrence, the character. What was it, Dominica? Dominica. I felt like her character really, was really put into this spot, but there are times where it didn't feel like she was still new. Like a lot of the emotion she was giving was kind of like, this isn't something new to her. Like she was just a ballerina.
Yeah. And
I would have thought, just being a ballerina, you would have a completely like, this, I can't do this. But her training class, she kind of was like, I don't like how they're teaching us, but I don't know. I just feel like her behavior was not believable for me to be like, oh, this is, you just
felt like she just kind of walked into it and just walked like and started doing
right. And not even in the sense that it's a natural gift, like when someone just like starts touching the piano and they're playing it well, and it's like, oh, they're just natural. I didn't feel like it was a natural thing either. I just felt like we missed something. Like we missed more of her putting her mindset into like, this is how I have to be and this is what I have to do. Because at first she just seemed like an ordinary person that was a ballerina that a tragedy, struck when she got her leg broken.
Yeah. So
that's another thing that bothered me. Given that this isn't like the other spy movies where they're a professional, they've been doing this for time now. This was her like first rodeo, but it felt like it was like her fourth rodeo.
Yeah, I think the way the film tried to kind of like cover that up too is there was a part where I forgot who said it, if it was Dominica that said it or one of the characters, but they had basically said like, you're a ballerina, you're basically an athlete, so you know how to like push yourself. Maybe her uncle might have said it. It was something like that. Like you'll basically like you'll do fine, like what it's like,
but not
to, like, work
not
hard
too comfortably that way in that sense.
Yeah, but I also think too,
like yes, I can put like the whole sports analogy. You're very good at one sport, and you probably can catch a few things on the next sport of like, okay, this is how this sports is played. But I felt like we missed that transition.
Right. I think also too it could have been too like. They kept talking like the mother was a big part of her motivation. Pretty much everything she did was so like they could keep her housing and so her mother's medical bills would be paid. So I think that could have been it too. Like she was just so focused on keeping, like being able to still provide and take care of her mother that she was willing to kind of do whatever she had to do, to make sure that her mom was taken care of. So that could have been, some motivation too. But I get what you're saying. It just kind of, it seemed like it just, she kind of just effortlessly, fell into place and, when she got to the program. So I get what you're saying.
I wish, yeah. I mean, it's kind of tough with not knowing the book part of it to kind of really be like, it kind of feel like maybe the book will explain that. Maybe that was, I mean, obviously I don't think a movie should ever leave things hanging just so you can go read the book. That would be bad.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I definitely, I have my concerns about my overall feeling about the movie. And I mean, when the score comes out, you can probably understand what my score would be.
Right. So I don't know if this is like an appropriate question. I was going to ask you what your favorite film was. Or I mean, not your favorite film, your favorite scene from the film.
My favorite,
being the nature, like this was a pretty shocking movie. So favorite scene isn't the right phrase, but what was, I guess, the most, the scene that left the like most impression on you or impact on you? Most memorable. I mean,
most memorable. I think I did say I was going to clarify this when we were hanging out. So this has surpassed Call Me by Your Name in terms of intense graphic things that I thought Call Me by Your Name was a lot of. This I take it back.
That was like porn.
I mean, to some extent, yeah, but this has definitely surpassed that. So
yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of those scenes. I mean, when the scene where she gets revenge on her partner that was the ballerina with her, that was doing the ballerina with her.
Yeah, in the sauna. Beat him.
Both, and the new girl and the replacement. I mean, I understand that she found out that, you know, it was intentional and it was a sabotage, but man, that's all right. But that's not my favorite. But things like that, those kinds of scenes, they were naked when they got murdered. So it's, I was like, okay.
There's another one of those, like, I mean, they didn't really need to be naked when they were getting beat,
right?
I mean, but she walked in on them making love, but still, it was like.
And then there's the roommate that got murdered in the sink, and then not the sink, in the tub, and then I don't even know what his name was, but he was like the ultimate spy that would just go in and do the kill and leave.
Yeah,
only called when needed.
Yeah,
that was also another one-dimensional character.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was intense.
He was.
The way
only showed up when like you're about to get killed or tortured.
Exactly. But my favorite scene, I guess, to answer your question.
But after all that, my favorite scene happens to be
after those runner-ups. My favorite scene was the interrogation when they were trying to find out whether she did reveal who the mole was, or no, not who the mole was. What was it? Was
when she was being interrogated?
Yeah.
And when she started basically like getting tortured?
Yes, because they were trying to find out whether the other
whether
girl,
she had whether she tipped the Americans off about that woman.
Yeah.
That American woman who was going to sell information.
Right. Yes. That part. So when they were trying to extract to see if she did,
saying, "Did you give up Buscemi or Boucher?"
Which was a girl's name. Yeah. Let's see. That part was my favorite scene.
So was it the whole, like, from the start to like that whole sequence, like, of all those?
Yeah, and it's my favorite scene only because I was just imagining myself.
I loved it. I just loved watching. No,
the pain, the torture. Would you do it? No, it definitely brought me into like the world for a little bit of like, okay, so this is legit. She really has to be careful what she says. You know, she says the wrong thing, she will get murdered. I felt like she was at the highest stake at that point, and you know, this was her team essentially, and they weren't testing her. This wasn't like a test. They're like, oh, we just wanted to see if you wouldn't rattle.
Yeah, no, they were treating her like she really, what's the word?
Betrayed.
Thank you. Whew, couldn't get it. Seeing if she betrayed Russia.
Yeah. Russia. So yeah, that was my favorite scene, and I'm glad that she pulled through, and then she never caved in.
Yeah, even when she thought she was gonna die, like when they were gonna like.
Well, when they showed that video of the guy dying in the same way, and then they're like, "All right, this is gonna be you now."
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely a memorable scene. I think. My favorite scene too. It's so when we're talking about like memorable scenes, and it's like all these like torture ones, but
that's what the movie.
That's
really
what the movie.
provoked.
A lot of the movie had it. Was when that one bad guy that just kept like popping in and like killing people.
Does he have a name? I want to find out.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at it right now to see if he has a name. But when he tied up the CIA, when he tied up Nate, and then Jennifer Lawrence came out, and they were
Simonov. All right, it's Simonov. I don't know.
Okay.
But that guy.
I'll just say that guy. When they were basically trying to get him to say who the mole was, and they were like started like skinning him.
So, that was
it wasn't my favorite scene, but I liked that scene because Jennifer Lawrence, like initially it looked like she was right along with him, and she was like, give it to me, let me try, and she was skinning him too. But it was in that moment I just knew she was gonna like turn, and I knew she was gonna like.
It was some predictability. Do I hear?
I really did. I was like, there's no way she's like. I was like, there's no way she's like having these kind of like intimate, I guess you can say, moments, personal moments with Nate, and then randomly, like when the guy comes and ties Nate up to torture him, she's like right there with him and gonna just start torturing him. Like, I'm like, there's no way she fooled me that much throughout the whole film to where I think I didn't know she was just setting Nate up the whole time.
I don't even know if that even happened. Like, if that were to happen, I don't even know if that would have the same. I don't think that would be a better thing in that sense. But I mean, that was just my side note on that. But
I don't think it would have either. So that's why I was like, in my head I was like, there's no way she's really a bad Russian. Like, there's no way that she's on the Russian side. Like, she's any moment now she's gonna like do something or like set Nate free or something to help Nate out. And then she finally does. She finally like tries to hit that guy in the head and like tries to cut Nate free. So that was my favorite scene because I was like, yes, like, okay, you're on Nate's side. Thank you. Like,
and Nate was naked.
Yeah,
almost, not fully, but
we didn't. They didn't really show anything though, right?
Nope. They did at the training when the guy undressed.
Yeah, they did. That was yeah.
That definitely surpassed. That's when I realized it surpassed Call Me by Your Name.
That was full frontal. But yeah, so that was my most memorable scene.
Oh, are we changing the name?
I guess I'll say favorite. Why not? So Oscar, with everything we talked about, pros and cons, what we expected, what we got.
This movie.
Final real score.
My real score for this movie, for Red Sparrow, starring Jennifer Lawrence, that was released March 3rd, 2017.
Very thorough.
I feel like, what if people want to know more details? No. My score for this one is 2.5.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That doesn't shock me.
There is a few things that, as mentioned throughout the podcast, that I was not okay with. I felt like there was things that could have been done differently. I think the biggest thing is scenes could have been done differently that could have given the same results. The length was a little bit on the lengthy side. It was 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I feel like because of that, that's where they try to do different things and try to see where other things can go. But ultimately, it fails. They're like directions that end up taking you back to the main street, and you're just kind of like, well, why did we just go through that little route? Yeah, and the Jennifer Lawrence character, it was, unfortunately, it wasn't something that was elevated by her performance. It was just right on track. She was just getting it enough. Definitely a better performance than what she did for some of her other past movies. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I walked away and I was not content. I don't want to see anything else from this movie. I would rather encourage someone to go watch Atomic Blonde over this movie. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, for those reasons that I wasn't satisfied in the end. There was a few positives, obviously, but yeah, 2.5.
Okay. I'm not mad at it. My final real score for this film is, and I did think about it all day while I was at work. I was like really thinking and going back and forth, but
Oh, did he just confess he's not 100% at work? You're 98%?
I'm 98% there. The other 2% at this podcast. I'm going to give this film a 3.5 out of 5 reels. Ruben's looking at me and shaking his head.
He'll give his little score.
Yeah, we'll hear your score. That was the reason why I was so conflicted to give this score. No, for sure, this film did things differently than your typical spy film. that I appreciated and that I liked. I did initially, when we first walked away from the theater, I was like, oh yeah, you know, there wasn't so much action and there wasn't this and there wasn't that. But when I think, after reflecting back on it, I'm glad that it didn't take those routes, because then, I mean, if it had, you know, just as much action as Atomic Blonde or whatever, then I would have been like, okay, it's Atomic Blonde too. Like, I'm glad that it took a different approach, and I can always appreciate a film for not going the like typical route. And I just feel like, I mean, I did like Jennifer Lawrence in this film. I thought her performance was good. It wasn't like the strongest of the year or anything, but it was really good. And the biggest reason why I gave this film what I gave it was just, I mean, a film that just keeps me thinking about it and looking at it from different angles and really trying to like break it down and kind of look at it with different sets of eyes, like, is a film that I feel like does its job. If we were to see this film and I just forgot about it, or I didn't give it a second thought and I was like, oh, this film sucked, you know, but I didn't. I was like thinking about it and thinking about the characters and, you know, reading different reviews, and just, it was on my mind. And
do you want to read the book?
I kind of do. Like the other day I was like, no, I don't want to read the book, but I really do. I kind of, because I want to see, you know, how I want to see like what was left out of the film, obviously, but you know, if there were things that were tweaked or changed, and, you know, just for the sake of Hollywood.
I mean, I know we didn't cover this movie on the podcast, but Annihilation, did you want to read that book? Did that movie?
Yeah, I did want to read Annihilation.
So these movies are doing a good job of encouraging you to check out the book, if anything.
And Call Me By Your Name, as you know, I'm on the waiting list at the library. So
we see you, YouTube.
Yeah. So yeah, we read your comment. We'll take your advice. But that is why I am giving this film a 3.5 out of 5 reels, and I stand by it 100%.
Well, I veto that score. That's a new thing.
Ruben, do you want to give your final real score?
Yeah, for the first real score by Ruben.
You had a lot to say
on the way home.
So.
Okay. So I'm gonna give it I would give it a 1.5.
1.5, 2.5, 3.5.
No, just for the reason that I felt like I went into the movie thinking one thing, just expecting one thing, and you leave with something completely different. And then in between the whole movie, you're just, you get like a bunch of different turns, and you end up somewhere you didn't even expect. It's a good ending. It's not a horrible movie. It's not like you want to walk out of it. But if you're going into it expecting one thing and then you leave with something else, that's kind of what made me.
Go ahead. This is your time. I'm sorry. This is your time.
Go.
I was just gonna say, you said two things that made me think of something. Going into a film, like, you're expecting one thing, but you leave with something different, and going in thinking you kind of assume how it's gonna end, and it doesn't end that way. I mean, I've got both of those things with La La Land, and it's like my favorite movie.
It could be a good
so I'm
thing,
just saying it's not always a bad thing.
No, it's not always a bad thing. No.
I'm sorry. I just had to say that.
There goes that La La Land mention of the episode.
Honestly, like Red Sparrow, I mean, I don't know if I ever told you guys, but I wanted to watch it, you know?
Yeah.
I was interested. It seemed very interesting. It seemed like a very interesting idea. And it just didn't happen. It seemed, I think you mentioned it, like she was just going to go out, seduce some guys, do some like crazy like spy work.
Get some intel.
I didn't even need like a fighting scene or guns, or I didn't need any of that. I was just like, there's going to be like a, you know, different kind of spy movie. And it wasn't. And it didn't even like let you down. It just was something different. And I didn't like that. And I'm sure people could see. Well, even like on Instagram, if people saw, I put on a highlight. We had Donnie's thoughts right before the movie, and then right after in our quick review.
That's a new thing, guys.
You can still see it, yeah. That's something we're trying to do. So our expectations did change and I did not expect them to change that much. I thought it would be like, I'm excited and I'm not. But yeah. I feel like you can, you know, you can totally tell it's just two different. You go in with one idea and you leave with something totally different. It is what it is. 1.5 is mine. I'm done.
Okay.
Mic drop.
Right, for real.
I mean,
that's
yeah.
wait, I'm excited that Ruben just gave
A score?
all that. Yeah, he gave his score and his reasoning
Finally.
and everything. Like, this is what the listeners have been wanting, Ruben. This is what they've been waiting for. We need more of it.
No, I mean, yeah, we're all on different levels here. We
Yeah,
have a
we
1.5, a 2.5.
I love it, though. I love
3.5.
it. I love that. I mean, it's, you know, we typically all agree pretty much for the most part about most films. Like, you know, and generally in the same ballpark, but like,
well,
like,
I guess
Ruben hated it. You thought it was okay, and it seems like I liked it more
than us.
than you guys. So we're all on different things, which is cool.
I do want to just mention here, where do you put this on the Jennifer Lawrence movie list?
We don't have time for that. Because I mean, are you talking just her performance?
Yeah, I mean, just her. Yeah, not the movie's plot or anything like best movie. Just like, do you think this was one of her best performances, or do you think she's had better? Because I mean, obviously, there's a few that come to mind that she does better in, but there's a few that she's below.
Yeah, one of her, like, I guess her breakout films, Winterbone. I don't think either of you guys have seen it, but like, I thought she was phenomenal. She was nominated for a Best Actress award that year, but that was the first time I ever who even knew who she was, and I thought that was, like, to date, I feel like that was one of her best roles. So by no means do I think like this is her best role. I think I think for like what she had to do, I mean, yeah, it was good. That's such a hard question, Oscar. I'd have to look at all her, you know, Silver Linings,
Jennifer Lawrence marathon,
American Hustle, and
Hunger Games,
Mother, and Passengers, which I've never even seen. Passengers, but
you're not missing out.
Okay.
Yeah, you're not. Me and Oscar.
Ouch. Okay. Well, I'll take your guys' word for that one. But yeah.
Okay.
So
well, everyone,
yeah. We want to
everyone find out where you're at. Did I just take over?
It's fine. I'm used to it. Oh. No, but for sure, listeners, we want to know what you guys think. So if you want to go on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and just share us your thoughts. YouTube. Yeah, YouTube, because that's where it's happening at right now. Shout out to you guys. But yeah, we want to know if you are thinking more like Ruben and you just didn't get anything from it. Are you on kind of Team Oscar where you thought it was okay? Or did you like it a little more? Are you Team Donnie? Let us know. Team R, Team D, Team O. We want to know. But remember, you can find us on any platform where they basically play podcasts, but I'll say it just for the sake of saying it: Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, and our website, thrillistpodcast.libsyn.com. And remember to tune in on Thursdays. We put out our new episodes every Thursday.
Or maybe Monday.
Or
let us know.
Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll switch it up like we did this week and do one Monday, one Thursday. You guys let us know. Anything else?
I think that's it. I think we're good. Thanks everyone for listening.
Thanks, guys.